All right. Well, India's market regulator, the SEBI, has cleared Gautam Adani and his diversified conglomerate of allegations related to stock market manipulation made by the US-based short seller Hindenburg Research. SEBI's investigation found no evidence that diversified groups used related parties to channel funds into its listed companies. In two detailed orders, SEBI concluded that claims of insider trading, market manipulation and breaches of public shareholding norms were unsubstantiated following an extensive investigation. Adani Group chairman Gautam Adani has taken to social media platform X and said that transparency and integrity have always defined the Adani Group. Meanwhile, multiple listed entities of the Adani Group, including the two nifty 15 names, Adani Ports and Adani Enterprises, along with the broader market entities such as Adani Power, Adani Energy Solutions, Adani Green Energy, Adani Power and Adani Total Gas, has gained up to 13% in trading sessions. We'll also try and in fact get an opinion on this development from our guest. Joining us on the show is Dr. Sharath Kohli, Senior Economist, Dr. Jayajit Bhattacharya, President of the CDPR. Ms. Rajalakshmi Joshi, Political Analyst, is also with us on the program. Dr. Kohli, I'll begin with you. Well, first off, exoneration for the Adani Group, it's a load off for them. In a world where accusations can land you in unwanted troubles and unwanted scenarios, especially when it comes to the stock market, this must be a huge relief for Mr. Adani.
Good evening, Vineet. Good evening to my fellow panelists and NewsX viewers. Yes, indeed, I think Adani Group has gone through many tests by now. Very, very strenuous phase, I would say, for Mr. Adani and his company. There was a time when almost 11 lakh crores had evaporated from the Adani Group, and market capitalization had fizzled out from the news. We should understand that stock market is a very sensitive platform. In fact, the very name of the BSE Sensex is sensitivity index. Very sensitive. So you get a news flow and it starts reacting up and down. And the market reacted. I think then a JPC was done, and there was a demand for JPC. Then a JPC was not probably done. Then Supreme Court appointed a committee. Then SEBI conducted the investigation. The main allegation was rigging of the share prices. It was being said that one of the brothers of Mr. Adani had probably gone to Mauritius, and through one of his Mauritian organizations, he had pumped in money and rigged the share prices, and so on and so forth. Now, it has been found that Section 12A of the SEBI Act has not been violated. All the listing obligations of the company, which is called LODR, they have not been violated at all. So Adani Group has been exonerated. And now I think whatever is happening in America, when there was a complaint filed about the bribery, that probably Adani fetched some contracts by bribing here and there. I think that is the only leaf which remains, which is beyond India anyway. So I think what Adani Group should now do, Vineet, is it should prepare, since all the reports, all the judgments are there, all investigations have concluded. I think Adani Group must go for a comprehensive lawsuit in America against Hindenburg, which is now Hindenburg actually, because it used to be Hindenburg. Ever since President Trump came, it's become Hindenburg. So I think a comprehensive lawsuit, and Adani Group can very well afford that. I mean, it may cost you probably a few $100,000, but I really don't think Adani Group should be worried about that. That should be filed, a comprehensive claim in the US. And, surprisingly, despite what is happening on the tariff front, although President Trump has now turned around, there is a bit of soft corner we see now. Negotiations have started. I'm sure the Trump administration would support such a suit because there was George Soros and the whole dark economy behind this. And if a suit of this thing is filed, I'm sure this will be corroborated by the Trump administration as well. So I think high time Mr. Adani must go for a lawsuit, recover all the compensation, all the losses, damages. Look at the losses to shareholders, Vineet. Mr. Adani will still be able to redeem, but they were retail shareholders who had, small amounts of money. And today Adani shares may have closed 2,524, a gain of 112 rupees out of this news. But people who lost money and sold the shares at that time, I mean, for them, probably some of them I met, they said, we will never come back to stock markets. If this is what a group like Adani, which is part of India's growth story, involved in substantial infrastructure projects. If we can lose on that, then we can lose on anything. So there are investors I know, of course I can't name them, I know a few who said we'll never come back to the stock market. So I think those losses can never be redeemed, which is why I feel that both Adani Group and in some form an investors association or forum in India must get together and file a suit in America and try and recover. I'm sure the American jury, the American justice system is quite efficient, supposed to be quite efficient, and the judgments do not take as long as they take in India. And I think all the defamation, recovery, damages, losses, whatever has happened, I think they should be done, that these were all false allegations and we suffered because of that. I think that will be the best course forward now. After this, I think this is final nail in the coffin as far as Hindenburg is concerned. I'm sorry, Hindenburg is concerned. Vineet.
All right. Rajalakshmi Joshi, good to see you after a long time. Well, there has been a political uproar as well concerning, the Adani and, their proximity to the government. In fact, the opposition has latched onto this plank that a JPC should have been commissioned. The government is complicit, in this impropriety. Now, all of those allegations, of course, fall flat to their face, along with a number of other allegations, which, or forces we can say, which have tried to malign the name of Adani, a company that has been responsible for doing some great work to take India ahead. What do you make of this judgment? And, I'm sure a lot of non-believers will start to actually realize that there are forces outside of India who are trying to destabilize us.
Good evening, Vineet. And yes, it is good to be on your show after a really long time. And at a good time, I must say, because especially concerning the stock market, because now, especially after this regulation by, this new, finding by SEBI, I think the picture is a little rosy in the stock markets. A lot of stocks have risen, especially with the Adanis. So I think that this is a good time. And SEBI, if very interestingly, has found nothing wrong. And in fact, this has taken them some 32 months of very tedious and meticulous investigation, and they have definitely looked into every aspect, and they found nothing wrong with any of the dealings of the Adani companies, the entire group. So all these accusations, they fall flat, and as Mr. Sharad Kohli has rightly pointed out, that Hindenburg has become Hindenburg now, because they have there is this policy of shoot and scoot. They lie big and then they retract small, and then they lie and they run away. They make some accusations and then they just hide. So, all these kind of things where you create some kind of a negative perception, you create a propaganda, you create a narrative, and then the rest of it, it's like some kind of a domino effect. So where a lot of things happen, like for example, in the stock market, so many crores of money of investors was lost. And now today, even though the stock markets have definitely improved on that front, the same people may or may not benefit, because some other people would benefit, but then there are a lot of people who lost huge amounts of money just because some people were creating this hit job. And also another interesting thing, Vineet, is that this thing didn't start in January 2023. This started much before, in Australia in 2016, 2017 by some NGOs, which were funded directly or indirectly by Soros. So all of it, this was very obviously a hit job. And you can see that some of these foundations, these NGOs, who were taking a lot of objections and who were creating a lot of narratives against the Adani Group of companies, they were not talking about any of the issues happening in Congress-run states. So it was only about their investments in BJP-run states, and also about their investments where only the BJP-ruled states were affected. So all of this quite clearly it was a hit job. And you can see that who are the kind of people who are speaking, who have been constantly speaking against Adani. You have been seeing how, Mr. Rahul Gandhi, you have seen how Ms. Mahua Moitra, there were these entire list of people who were doing, who were very aggressively, they were protesting against him. There were a lot of days of parliament lost. All of this, you can clearly see that today they are definitely not going to be answering this, because they have moved to the next hit job. So for them it was just a matter of shoot and scoot. So for them none of this means anything. So this, Vineet, it's a very convenient way of targeting the people who are actually wealth creators, wealth generators, job creators for our own country. These are the people who create infrastructure, quality infrastructure in our own country. They build airports, they are into coal mining, they're into energy, renewable energy. So all of this, real estate, so huge amounts of wealth has been created for our own country, for, by these huge industrialists, by these group of companies. And it's so sad to see that these wealth creators are being attacked by our own people. I don't see Americans hit out at companies like Amazon or Google. They're proud of them. But if you look at it, being an Adani or an Ambani seems to be some kind of an abuse. So this is something like every time, every now and then in Parliament, that statement is made, that or something is said to the effect that our democracy is being run by Ambani and Adani. That is ridiculous. So these kind of hit jobs, I think, definitely, I think that, like Mr. Kohli suggested, that some kind of petitions or some kind of complaints have to be raised, and some investigation has to be done as to who and why they did this hit job, and what are the remedies. Like, our regulatory board is very strong, Vineet, and we have definitely made sure that there are no incidences. Like in the past, you've had a lot of scams in the stock markets. So now today, if you look at it, that kind of a scenario is not there. And some definitions have also been updated. So I think that today we are in a much better position than in the past years. And yet you keep having these political hit jobs, where they want to hit at a political party by assuming that certain investors, certain industrialists, certain groups are funding these political parties. If you go to see that these same Ambani, Adani, and all these wealth creators, they have also invested very heavily in Congress ruled states. But very conveniently, the Congress and the opposition, even say maybe Mamta Banerjee, even in the past KCR, all these people were turning a blind eye to the investments in their own states, because then it suited them that way. So
Okay.
I think this is something that definitely has to be brought under some kind of regulation. Like, there. I think
Let me
that
get in Mr.
definitely
Bhattacharya into this conversation as well. Mr. Bhattacharya, important to rake up this point as to who's going to be responsible for the loss of face for the Adani Group, who's going to be responsible for all that upheaval that was caused. You can't just accuse a company of insider trading and then just get away with it. The Adanis, like Dr. Kohli also said, have to take it to a court in the United States.
Both Raj Lakshmi and Dr. Kohli mentioned about how big is the issue to begin with. So let me add to the magnitude of the problem before we come down to what should be done post that. There was $150 billion of market capitalization that was wiped out. Now, how much is $150 billion for your viewers? That's more than the total direct tax calculation of government of India. That much of money was wiped out. So it's no ordinary, little money that we're talking about. It's more than total amount of the direct tax collection of the government of India. Second, why wasn't it done against a Reliance or a Tata's or an L&T? Why Adani? Because for us, for India, Adani is the equivalent of a BlackRock. All strategic infrastructure that we need outside of India was being done through Adani. Adani had the entrepreneurial spirit, the risk-taking ability to take the geopolitical risk and buy the infrastructure that we needed, which is ports in Haifa. In fact, Raj Lakshmi mentioned about the coal mines in Australia. Not only were they beaten down in Australia by the so-called NGOs funded by the Soros and so on, but even infrastructure in as far away as Kenya was taken away from them. After giving them the airport deal, that was taken back because of all these narrations that was created against the Adani Group. And as again Raj Lakshmi rightly pointed out, that comes back and hits us. So our ability to operate and our industries to operate outside of India gets significantly limited. So therefore, the ports, the airports, the energy supply chain, all of that starts favoring companies which are not Indian in origin. And therefore, the Japanese, the Chinese, the Americans, the Europeans, they continue to benefit from the global infrastructure. We were trying to make a headspace. We were trying to get a footprint into the global economic supply chain. And that was very rudely brought down through this Hindenburg. And again, I'll quote Raj Lakshmi that this kind of a hit and run continues. It is that I accuse you of doing something. Now it's up to you to disprove that you're not doing it. How is that possible? We again hear a hit and run in terms of vote chori. Now I'm the set of politicians are accusing that vote chori is happening, but I will not give the data. You have to give the data. Now, what kind of accusation is that? Exactly same as what happened in Adani. We will not give the data. We'll just believe in it. We'll print a report without much of a backing up. But SEBI and Government of India and the public, you provide the data. Now the data has come out. The details have happened. And what is the outcome of it? Adani has, there's been nothing that's been found against Adani. All these accusations of related party transactions, they were all kosher. These transactions happened before the rules were changed. There was no violation of the rules of this land. There may be, accusations from any other land. And therefore, to your point, Vineet, what should we do next? Should we sit back and wait for the next hit job to happen? Or should we aggressively go out and make sure that such a step is never dared to be taken against Indian companies? And I remember Dr. Kohli's statements throughout the year that we should put together funds, we should go after entities which are harming the interest of this country and make sure that they dare not think about it again. Why, today there may be Hindenburg, tomorrow there will be some other bug coming out. We should proactively ensure that these entities are not able to touch our companies, and therefore we also need to have institutional approaches within the country. We also should not take so much of time to respond. Our institutions should be able to come and protect our companies and our industries so that they're not left to the vagaries of such hit and run job by short sellers, and protect our investors. Again, those who lost money are not the ones who are getting the money when the Adani prices are going up. So there has been a shift in money from one pocket to another, and clearly some of that money has gone to people who actually tried to harm. So they short sell, they got the shares in the pocket, and when the prices went up, they sold that. And therefore the excess money that has flown out of the pockets of middle class Indians has flown into foreign pockets. And therefore there has to be a far more stringent institutionalized approach from our side, from Indian side, so that there is no repetition of such an effort in future.
All right, Dr. Kohli, we'll take concluding thoughts starting with you. What next for the Adani Group here? And of course, this has also made them a little bit ironclad, if I can say that, considering that the next allegation or the next person alleging insider trading or any kind of an impropriety towards the Adani Group is going to have to think twice.
No, I mean, not ironclad, because Mr. Adani and his group went through a lot. There is a saying in Hindi, "Jis tan lage wo jane." The person who has to go through it knows the pain of it. But I must inform here for the benefit of NewsX viewers that SEBI and the stock exchanges also have made certain changes on short selling in the last couple of years. In fact, one change has been made this year itself, where derivative trading, or when you're short selling, is part of derivative trading. When we say derivative trading, we mean futures and options. So when you're trading in futures and options, there are now some restrictions. Very small investors cannot trade You have to be more transparent. Some of the contract expiry dates have been changed and so on and so forth. So I think some changes government, I would say SEBI has done through the stock exchanges. But yes, every corporate needs to be careful. Every corporate needs to be watchful, because there is something called heartburn. There is a certain group overseas which gets a lot of heartburn every time India progresses. Every time we get those nice numbers of 7.8% GDP, our forex reserves of $700 billion, our tax collections are going gaga, and so on and so forth. So there is a lot of heartburn which is caused overseas. And this George Soros and company types, they are always active. So I think a watchful eye going forward. The lesson can be taken from Adani. This can happen to other groups also. Tomorrow it could happen to Reliance. Tomorrow it could happen to the Tatas, some of the Birla companies. There are a lot of tech companies which have got very high market capitalization. You should remember that they'll only target company where market capitalization is very high. And for the benefit of NewsX viewers who don't understand market capitalization, is number of shares which are floating multiplied by the price prevailing at that time. So they'll always target such companies which are high in terms of market cap. So I think they need to be remaining watchful, although SEBI and the stock exchanges now remain watchful ever after this Hindenburg happened. Every time there is a large transaction, if you remember, there was a case of Jane Street. Now Jane Street, they have been allowed to trade. 4,000 crores has been kept as security deposit by SEBI. But they were watchful because they were continuously doing short selling and covering, they were doing hedging, combinating between cash market and the derivative market. Anyway, I'll not go into the technicals of it. But what I mean is that adequate checks and balances from the government, from SEBI, along with a watchful corporate sector. And of course, most of all, investors should not get carried away. I think investors getting carried away in emotions and just, the herd mentality
Dr. Kohli,
should be avoided.
Hate to stop you, but
times.
we've run out of time. We've completely run out of time. Appreciate everybody who joined us. Thank you so much for your perspective and insight. Well, we have some breaking news to talk about now. Renowned singer Zubeen Garg from Assam has passed away in an accident in Singapore while